this channel, and I have been gone for quite some time, but we're back here today at my dad's house working on the Baja bug. As you can see, we've made some progress, some things minor, some things pretty major. So major update is floors are finished, everything's self-etch primed. It's a weld-through primer, so I'm going to add stuff as we go right onto it. As you can see, I've cut out a large portion of the bulkhead here. There already was a big hole that the previous owner had placed a Carmagia gas tank in, so we're going to bend up a new piece of sheet metal, or most likely several pieces of sheet metal, and get that all filled back in and sealed back up. As you can see, I cut most of the dash out. The car already had an empty aluminum dash. We're going to be replacing that with a quarter-inch aluminum plate. So it'll extend all the way down to this lower tube. It'll be much bigger, effectively. Give me some more space for gauges, readouts, etc., switches. As you can also see, I've got a patch panel almost done here. Just about finished welded up. I need to grind all those welds down, get everything nice and straight again, primed, sealed up, and ready for paint at some point. These patch panels, and we can do a whole video on these alone, are pretty handy. And even me, somebody who doesn't really know bodywork very well, was able to do it. That was in big part thanks to my new Eastwood 250 MIG welder. This thing is awesome. It's a nice budget welder. I also got their cart. I really dig the Eastwood product line. Their help center, or help support line, excuse me, is very helpful. If you have any issues, I think my TIG welder that I bought from them was missing one of the fittings on the regulator. They sent me a whole new regulator setup. Really awesome. As you can see, I still have the big hole in the back of the car for the transmission. That's going to be dealt with later. And yeah, today's work was this right here. So as you can see, I've got my 4-inch over, that's a 4-inch longer and 1-inch wider arm on. I've got my FOA triple bypass and coilover. These are, I think, 2.5 by 10. I might be wrong on that, with a 3/4 shaft. They might be a 2 by 10. I'll have to look. The rack and pinion is kind of in. So what I ended up doing was I ditched the factory steering column altogether. It was just not going to work with this setup, and I was able to buy on jegs these sort of braces that I was able to weld in. There's one more that's got to get welded in to sort of triangulate this deal. I got to kind of pick which tube I want to send it to. But yeah, this is just an aftermarket 1.5-inch steering column. And then here, the steering shaft here, sort of downstream of this U-joint, was supplied with the rack and pinion kit. So that came with the kit along with the U-joints and these tie rods. You might notice the car's got the combo spindles that I featured in one of my last videos. I can go through sort of the details on swapping to combo spindles from a stock type King and Link pin spindle, and some of the things you might need to do if you're running MP brakes or any other MP components like their discs, their hub, excuse me. There's some conversion bearings involved, and you got to get the brake plate off of a ball joint. So that can be kind of hard to find online. It's possible, but I had to do some searching. So anyway, through rods are in. Chromoly through rods. This beam has adjusters. We're not going to use the adjusters. I really had to play around with the setup here. So as you can see, I may have to have a shock guy kind of reconfigure the bodies on these shocks, but it looks like I've got pretty good clearance the way I've got it set up here. Everything's just mocked up. Like I said, this isn't final by any means, but with the triple bypass on the outside and the coilover on the inside, and both hoses clocked forward, I can wrap around. I can zip tie or tie wire up my reservoirs to their mounts and have clearance for everything. The car will soon be on its own wheels, hopefully by the end of today. One minor issue I'm encountering with my tie rods is I thought I could just easily go on Amazon or any other online retailer and buy some international tie rod ends. This setup, this steering rack kit, came with international tie rods on the rack side, but then a forged style tie rod, which is a little bit smaller on the spindle side. That's so you can run a factory spindle, you can drill and have it reamed out for the forward taper, and have a upgrade from stock, but still not quite as beefy as the international. So unfortunately, the issue being is the tie rods that are spec'd with the kit use a smaller diameter thread. I'm not sure the pitch yet. I need to do my homework on that, check it with a pitch gauge, but these aren't going to work for that. So I'm going to have to see if I can find.
Are you saying for dinner?
Yeah.
Okay.
I'm going to have to see if I can find a different tie rod that's an international, but with that smaller thread, or possibly time to upgrade those tie rods. Some of the next work to be done on the car is going to be relocating some of these rear shock mounts. I did hire a fabricator at some point to do some of this work, and he did a lot of good work, but he also did a lot of slightly off work, just not thought all the way through. So we're gonna have to relocate those rear shock mounts. So it'll essentially be moving that outer plate here to the inboard position, and that'll sort of correct a lot of my geometry problems and my biggest problem, the clearance. So right now that shock bolt is literally riding on that rotor. Those rotors have been sitting for a long time. They're getting a little bit rusty, so we'll clean them off, treat them, and slam that all back together. So anyway, guys, thanks for tuning in. I know I've been gone for a long time. Hopefully I've answered some of your questions on the combo spindle upgrade, and you can kind of take a peek at my setup here. Kind of one point of contention potentially is going to be this. So the fabricator guy, he extended the mounts on these arms. Now these arms are kind of like a forged material. They're very heavy. They might be cast, I'm not sure. And he welded on there, and everything seems to line up well. One thing I had to do with these shocks is change this lower shock seat deal here to a Fox. So I had to do some homework. Kind of had to go out on a limb and just order one for a Fox setup. And as you can see, I think this is a 1.5 inch height. I have to look what their height offset is, but the height there, I believe it was either 1 or 2.5 inches, and they're tapered. So what I found is I really can just grind this guy. I'm going to be able to grind that guy off and give myself a lot more clearance. But the factory seats that came on these shocks from FOA, it was just a flat deal and it would not clear at all. So now we're looking a lot better. Anyway, guys, I'm out. Stay safe.